For the adults, I'd like to take a look at a different part of that gospel. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body go into Gehenna. That's rather striking, actually. I hope you know that Jesus is not encouraging us to, harm ourselves. This is a rhetorical trick, a way to, in speaking, to make a point that was common in Jesus' day. You sort of do this over-the-top example, and that kind of catches people's attention, so they think about it. And so that's what I'm hoping we could do, is think about this for a little bit. What's Jesus getting at in this? And maybe it's really just a question to boil down to Jesus is suggesting there are going to be times in our lives when we have some choices to make. And those choices might be against two things that are really good, but we'll have to pick one. Because one of them, even though it is good in and of itself, is doing us some harm. So just as an example, you and I, many of us, we have gotten into a bit of a habit maybe where we have just overdone things. We just finished up dry January, and I know lots of people who participated in that over the years. They would, if you don't know about this, it means you quit drinking during January. And they get to the end of January and suddenly they realize, wow, I feel better and my life is better. I wonder if the bit of drinking I've been doing, the social drinking, maybe that's not actually good for me. And so then they just stop. I know in my own case, I've had lots of these kind of moments. One was a few years ago, I realized that I was watching too much bicycle racing. Mostly I was just watching it at lousy times. I get home at night and I just want to put on a race to unwind, and that was fine, but these races are long and I wanted to watch all of it, and so it was affecting my sleep. And so even though this is a wonderful sport that I very much enjoy, I chose not to renew the subscription to the streaming service that allowed me to watch those things. Lent is coming up, and some of you, if you've taken Lent seriously in the past, same sort of thing. You get to the end of Lent, and you don't just immediately start back with what you had given up. Maybe you realize, well, maybe I should just give this up. But you'll appreciate that this can get harder. Story that I know of a guy, he was playing video games with his middle school age son. And they had gotten to a point where I guess they were going to change games or something. It's a little break, if you will. And the boy went about doing that. And Dad, as was his habit, just reached into his pocket and grabbed his phone. Because he was kind of an important person, and he in charge of a big company, and he needed to keep up with his email. And he had found over the years that if he took those kind of moments, these 2 or 3 minute little breaks, and just would look at a couple emails, it would help him keep up. But on this particular day, he, I guess, took a little longer, got involved in something he was reading. And when he finally realized that, his son was waiting for him, he put the phone back in his pocket quickly and looked, and there was his son staring at him. And the boy said to his dad, "Hey, Dad, when we're playing like this, do you think it could just be you and me?" The father told me it took him a couple of days of really wrestling with this, but he finally pulled out his phone and uninstalled the email app on his phone. Email is a wonderful thing. It was an efficient thing, what he was doing, but he realized how much it was getting in the way of his relationships, not only with his son, but with others. Some of you, again, you might know some people, maybe you did it yourself. You did something similar. You came to the conclusion that social media is no good for you, and you uninstalled the app off your phone. Or if nothing else, you turned off all the notifications so you wouldn't just be having this ping, ping, ping thing and you're constantly wanting to look at it. That was probably a good thing for you. Not that social media in and of itself is a bad thing, but for you, it had become this thing that, well, to put it as Jesus would say, if your email app or if your social media account is causing you to sin, uninstall it, cancel the account. And you might appreciate the fact that this can get really hard. There are people who they need to do more than just uninstall the app because they are potentially maybe even addicted to something. Take online sports gambling, just to take one example. Somebody like that, yeah, they might in a moment say, "Oh, okay, wait a minute, I need to give this up," and they would uninstall the app. But it's so easy for them to reinstall it, and they may do that. Maybe they go through a pattern of this, and for them, they need to hear Jesus saying, "If your phone offends you, give it up. Give it up." And you may be sitting there thinking like, give up your phone? But you'll appreciate that there are lots of people in this room. We grew up without phones in our pockets. We did very well, I might add. It could be done. I will admit there will be situations where maybe that's not even, maybe you got to do something, a dumb phone something. And maybe it's a part of work or something like that. But I think that's what Jesus is getting at. The imagery of, okay, I'm going to pluck my eye out because it's causing me to sin. That's Jesus saying, this could get serious. You might have to make an incredibly difficult choice. But why would you do it? Jesus mentions Gehenna. It was this place not far from Jerusalem where, amongst other things, people used to go there and sacrifice their kids to pagan gods. It was a place, as you can imagine, it was just a horrible place, had this horrible meaning. And also it was it became a bit of a garbage dump. And so just this idea of Jesus saying, you don't want to end up there. You don't want to end up living your life, if you will, in a garbage dump. And so maybe we do need to look at something in our lives and say, all right, this is going to be difficult, impossible maybe, but I need to do it. And Lent's coming up. And so I just encourage you, Lent is a wonderful time to wrestle with these kind of things. Give it some thought. Ask the Lord to open your heart. That's what I'm doing. I'm asking the Lord, open my heart. Is there something I'm missing? Something I have just slowly fallen into, not even aware of it, that I need to give up for the betterment of my life in the kingdom. And just remember one last thing. Church is not a self-help kind of thing. You don't come in here and Jesus offers you some advice and you say, okay, I'll go try and do that. Remember, this is not advice as much as it is God saying to us, I made you. I made humanity. I know all about humanity, and I know you. And believe me, when I tell people, kids, teenagers, adults, don't lie, believe me, I know what I'm talking about. So this is not just some advice from some smart person. This is somebody who knows us and loves us. And God isn't asking us to do it on our own. He's given us His Holy Spirit to help. And so as you're sitting here thinking about it, maybe there's something relatively minor that comes to mind. Shouldn't be too hard. Encourage you to take that on. But if something I have mentioned has brought up to you something crazy hard, go for that too. Just be sure to ask the Lord to help you, because that is a prayer I know that God will answer.